story of Frederick Douglass and his courageous fight with a slave master. This is his words, he tells it. I want you to see about courage. And I think I put it on here afterward. Courage is not erasing all of your fears and inhibitions and so forth and so on. I think I have it up there as a later point. Because we do a lot of things that we may be nervous about, but we still able to go through, you know. When speakers will tell you when, as often as they do it, when they go before thousands, there's a nervous energy. And so they're able to control that fear until they launch themselves and engage into what they're doing and their mind, you know, refocus on that. It's not that you eradicate all of that. And sometimes it can be used in a positive way, that nervous energy can be converted, you know, to power. So in the life of Fred, the real life story, to paint a picture of what I want to say, and you know a lot more about his life, you can read, but I'm going to skip a lot today just to zero in on this. It came a time where one of his masters, slave masters, would rent out their slaves to other plantations for certain work that they had the ability to do. And this was one of the episodes where he was rented out to another plantation master. He says this plantation master was cruel. He beat slaves. He looked for any reason to beat slaves. He was actually a poor slave plantation owner, and the poor ones was even more ruthless because they were already suffering from a complex. In other words, I got a plantation that I may have inherited, but I'm really poor. So he can't compete with some of the other plantation owners. So he's got a point to prove to make his name great. He was cruel toward the master. He would beat him, he said, every day. And so Douglas wasn't used to being beaten because up until now, Douglas was a house Negro, as they would say. You can follow me, you know, they were calling it. He was the house slave. So he wasn't used to the field. Hand was soft, and so this slave master, understanding that he was a house Negro, said, I'm gonna put you in the field because you think you're smart. He wasn't used to hard work. He worked inside. Well, quite naturally, he couldn't handle, you know, the mules and wagons well, and he had been beaten a lot anyway. And so it came on this particular day, he felt like they had set him up. He was walking was driving the cart on a real bumpy road or something, and whatever the cargo was tilted over and fell. And the master beat him almost unconscious. He said he was delirious and fell from a heat stroke or over-exhaustion from heat. But he drug him and beat him and left him lying there, and said during the night he got up and he walked 7 miles to his previous master to say, you know, this master is cruel like I have not known. And I want you to pull me back here because I cannot deal with that. This guy is like he's destined to kill me. And so to his surprise, the master, who had been so understanding, was in support of him, but I've hired you out and you got to fulfill the contract because I've received the money. So you just go back and be quiet and do what you ask and so forth and so on. So he spent the night there, and he tended to his wounds, fed him, and so forth, and he started his way back. He got back around evening. But this is what Frederick Douglas says in his own word. In that 7-mile walk back, I had fear, but I also made a decision that no man would never beat me again. And I don't fight back. I'll die on my feet before I let a man beat me on my knees. I am a man.
Come on.
He had fears, but that daring spirit, that backbone, that nerve came out. So he made up in his mind, I'm going to fight. If it kills me, then it was my time. He said, I was afraid all the way, nervous, but my mind was made up.
All right.
I'm going to fight for mine. He gets back. Later on, Master Caesar assigns him to perform some duty, some function was going on in his house, and when the function was over, later that evening, he told him to go to the barn, saddle up whatever, horse or something. And he heard his master coming in, snapping the whip. He had two white attendants with him, the family, and other slaves were standing around. He said, pull off your shirt. I hadn't forgotten. He didn't pull off his shirt. He said, for the first time, I saw fear in him. Because I wasn't doing what he said do. Sometimes, okay, I ain't gonna even go there today. This is his story. He said, pull off your shirt. He said, no. So the guy goes to commence to try to hit him with the whip. He grabs the whip and yanks into it. And he strikes his master. Hi-ya! The master hit the ground. He said, and I saw fear in him that was greater than the fear that was in me. And then courage rose up. That's why I call it the courageous fight. He never would have known what would have happened had he still been timid. Your breakthrough is going to come when you get some nerve and some background and say, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die on my feet. I'm going to die fighting for what I believe. I'm going to try. At least I'm going out with some audacity, tenacity, and any other word, valor, heroism, and a whole bunch of other words.